So there was a time where you were really conscious of how women were attracted to you and your energy, and you wouldn't even allow women to give you massages.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that
Yeah.
you said was, I want to save all of my energy for you.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point to where your back was done up.
Done up.
And I was like, okay, I know you don't want to get a massage because you don't want to, share that energy with another woman. You just want to share it with me.
My nigga, everything is love, but that don't anything I love. Yeah.
Peace, beloved.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of God It's Me Again podcast. I'm Candyss Love.
It's your boy Brickcitibuddha.
And this is episode 2 of, I don't know the name of the
Well,
podcast.
yeah, we'll come up with the name after.
Yeah. But
if-
this is part 2
right.
of the last
And
conversation.
you'll see we got the same clothes on. You know, we switch up. So if you didn't see the first part, go back and watch that. Also, for those of y'all that are new, sometimes I do this and I go here with it and, certain things. We married, y'all. We're not just getting frisky
We
on the
real
podcast.
married.
I have seen people say that, right? It was a lot to this conversation, so we wanted to continue. We didn't want to just drop this off and leave all this information here as well. So hopefully y'all enjoyed part 1. We do want to dig into what we already had lined up for this episode. So jumping from where we just was, getting into the conversation between attraction versus synergy, right? Attractive versus attracted. What's your stance on the difference between the two? And
I think you should answer that first.
why?
Because I want to hear where you're going to go with it.
All right, so for me, and I've had this conversation with a lot of my brothers, there's nothing sinister to me for us to have an affinity for the feminine specimen, right? The most beautiful creatures on this planet is women, especially when you're talking about that melanin. I mean, you see it, right? It's hard not to look at that and feel like I'm attracted to that.
Yeah.
And that even gets demonized for a lot of brothers, understandably so sometimes, because we'll have the wandering eye. We're trying to consume as much of this beauty as possible, right? Underneath that, though, when you get into the science of what attraction is really about, it's really our spirit, our soul's affinity for symmetry, for balance.
Okay.
And there's documentaries y'all could check out on YouTube. You could just, I guess, put in your search, the science of beauty, the science of attraction. And they literally break down things like the Fibonacci sequence and how it shows up in facial structure, how far the eyes are apart from the nose. All these different things subconsciously are plays from my spirit saying, I love balance. Just like with the diet and what we do in our lifestyle, it goes all the way back to, damn, she look good, right?
Great point.
And that will be demonized. Now, we both married. We'll have conversations about who she may feel is attractive. She always want to ask me. And you always want to ask me about specifically white women. And we got a lot of white audience, no shade to nobody, but she always want to know about the white women. Which one you think is pretty? But we'll have these conversations and not feel no way about it, because even without you knowing the science of what I just said, attracted is just a natural ebb and flow of the human experience. That's cool.
Right.
That's fine. That's physical aesthetic, and that's even more so fine because we exist so deep, so much deeper than physical aesthetic. A woman being beautiful physically could never do it. Could never get me into a room or nothing like that just because she's beautiful, and vice versa. So for me, attracted and attraction is that's allowed. Like we were saying in the last episode, the synergy and the chemistry, and I think I feel something for this woman. That's an incremental, gradual, feeding the imagination, sitting there romanticizing, thinking about this woman, having conversations with them, and you haven't had any of this dialogue with your partner about these budding feelings. And a lot of brothers, I'll give it to you after this, a lot of brothers speak about, my woman is my best friend. I've had, I'm not going to say female best friends, but I have some dope female friends. In that capacity, I was having conversations about what I'm doing with this one, what she think about this connection I got over here. I'm openly having these conversations. If my wife my best friend and I'm feeling something, That's something that got to come up. And a lot of times brothers will say, well, I'm a man. I got eyes. I see women. Yeah, that's cool. But once it goes from attracted to, when it goes from attractive to attracted, that's something you're going to have to bring your partner into to not have that energy dilute what y'all got going.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you said that exactly how I would have said it.
That's all you got? If that's all you got, we got plenty.
I do love that you mentioned the symmetry of the face, because I've seen videos where they will acknowledge the most beautiful woman in the world based on the symmetry of her face. And then you mix that with the psychology of what we're asking for internally, which is balance. I think that's really beautiful, and it makes so much sense. But when it comes to the attracted versus attractive, how I said it the other day when we were speaking about it is, one is the ability to just see, oh, that's a good looking person. Yeah. Whether it's man or woman, I can acknowledge that's a pretty woman. That's a handsome guy. And I want absolutely nothing to do with them. I don't need to have a conversation with them. I don't need to know more about them. I just have acknowledged that they are aesthetically pleasing. But when we get into the attracted, it's like a aura that's bringing me closer to you, like I am attracted to you. There's something within you I want to get to know more. I'm not just attracted to the aesthetic, I'm attracted to the person in general. And I feel like when the attracted happens, that's when people start to get into murky water, because it's not as innocent as just acknowledging, oh, this is a fine looking person.
Thought you ain't had nothing to say.
I thought I didn't.
Of course you did. And to add to that, before we go to the next piece of this, us functioning in the capacity that we do in the world, in our community, the healing sector, whatever you want to call it, and how we are able to acquire resources, connections, how we're able to network extremely organically. I know in my journey, especially before I even got to you, a lot of the physical basic attraction wasn't for any type of romantic exchange. It was for eyes to, not even eyes to meet, but for me to recognize, oh, that's a pretty woman, or vice versa. And all of a sudden we have a conversation. I may say hi or whatever it is, and it never goes to anything romantic. It turns into, well, I'm looking for a space to conduct my meditations, right? Oh, I got a space, so I know this person. A lot of our attraction from a God level, from a soul level, life is trying to direct you towards these people based on that physical balance, right? The same Fibonacci sequence, or golden ratio is what they also call it, which is a mathematical equation of how life literally unfolds in different shapes and forms. The same way I could look at a flower and like, yo, this is beautiful. It's the same thing with the person, right? But a lot of this attractiveness is for us to be able to just make these connections, to be able to grow our lives in ways that have nothing to do with romance. And I said this on a post a long time ago. We end up using the attractiveness, and we use it in a way where we end up effing the help, right? You wasn't here to really relate with me or have a romantic connection. You were supposed to point me in the direction of that dude or that woman over there to make sure I get to the next level of my journey. But I have never known what to do with attraction outside of, maybe I'm supposed to sleep with this person. Maybe this is supposed to be my girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is. And before you know it, you're slowing down your journey based on the fact you don't understand how attraction is actually trying to work in your life beyond romantic connection.
Yeah, I think it's very emotionally and spiritually irresponsible to see a person and think that just because you are to see a person and think just because you are attracted to them that you are supposed to go further with them in the journey. It kind of disregards the intuitive power that is guiding you and telling you which relationships you are supposed to enter and which people you are supposed to entertain. And just because you acknowledge something about somebody or someone is aesthetically pleasing, you now take that as an invitation to enter a relationship with them that now leads you into unnecessary heartbreak because you were paying attention to the wrong things. And on top of that, because you were paying attention to the aesthetic, you completely ignored the intuitive guidance and the intuitive compass that's saying just admire this person. Just admire what their aesthetic has to bring. What does it make you feel? Sometimes I remember when, before I met you, I would see guys and I was just attracted to their presence.
Yeah.
And I was attracted to being in their presence and just what that felt like. You know, I was celibate for 4 years. So that means I'm not texting men. I'm not talking on the phone. I'm not going on dates. I'm not masturbating. So I wasn't around masculine energy at all. But when I was around it, it made me feel really good. It made me feel really safe. But that had nothing to do with my desire to go deeper into getting to know them.
Right.
And thinking that just because there is some level of attraction there to their aesthetic, that means I'm supposed to try to entertain a relationship with them. I had the wherewithal to leave it where it's supposed to be left, to acknowledge it for what it was, to take in whatever I needed to take in, and leave it at that. And that reminds me of on the last podcast when the guy came up to me with that compliment and he said, I hope you feel as beautiful as you are, and walked smooth off. He didn't even wait for me to say thank you. He said what he needed to say. He acknowledged what he needed to acknowledge within me, which was my beauty. And he also knew that I don't have a desire to go any further.
Right.
I don't need to go any further. There's nothing driving within me to get to know this woman. I just need to let her know that I see something within her that is beautiful, and I can leave it at that. That's spiritual guidance and intuitive guidance saying, acknowledge what you acknowledge and be able to leave it where it is.
As far as when or how your attraction turns into synergy, your recognition that a brother is handsome. I mean, you can keep it with me. At what point did you go?
You want me to say you handsome?
I mean, you tell me
you
that
are.
all the time.
Yeah, you really are.
I take it though. I appreciate it.
You
I
look
take
good.
what I can get. I appreciate you. You know.
I like that shirt.
Thank you, baby. With me, when did it go from? And it was a lot of platonic energy. It was a lot of friendship and really guiding each other from rip, sending information back and forth. Stop looking at me like that, please. That wasn't podcast. Paying attention. You done thrown off my train of thought. Okay, I got it back. What was some of the intangibles that took, it from we cool and we kind of guiding each other and sending this information, and I may feel like he's handsome, to synergy, to chemistry? What were some of those intangibles?
Yeah. Well, okay. So you actually have a lot. So the innocent things they're innocent, but they still make me feel something. So you would send me meditations. What man is sending a woman meditations? And so to be clear, when we first started talking, we were talking in the DMs of Instagram. We actually never left off of the DMs. Like, I wasn't calling him on the phone. We weren't like FaceTiming through our phone. We were on Instagram, and we kind of left it at that. So he would just send me a DM of a meditation and go. And it wouldn't be no conversation.
For the next couple of days.
Yeah, he would be in and out. I'm like, that's kind of sexy.
You gotta say how you say it.
In and out.
There you go.
And I'm like, that's kind of sexy. He's just dropping off meditations. He care about my well-being. Okay. Or whatever. So, that added to it because that felt like protection.
And it was genuine, and you could feel the genuineness in it too.
Yeah, it felt like protection. It felt like provision. And it was sexy to me to see that that's the world that you really live in and you aren't just talking it. But then, things progressed, and you gave me a nickname, and so my nickname was Puka. And
that was your first one?
Yeah, and then it went to Cherubim. And then you would ask me how my heart was. But also, you have a very sexy voice. And so I would screen record a lot of our conversations so I could fall asleep to them and just hear your voice as I was.
Just fall asleep?
We gotta keep it PG-13.
We grown. We married.
And I would fall asleep to your voice. And I think that started to add to the synergy that I was accumulating for you, on top of you being just extremely handsome, business oriented, and just moving in a way that a grown man would move.
Yeah.
That's not something I had experienced ever. So it's just so many aspects to how you moved, how you treated me, how you would just check in with me to see how I was doing. All of that stuff added up, and it was just like had you glowing or has you glowing in my eyes, because those are still things that you do.
Shout out to Sasha Flowers Skincare. Make sure y'all get that glow off these shelves, so I can get some glow back in the house, because we done ran out doing extracurricular activities, right? We married. Cool out. We good, right? We need like one more bottle, but that that actually brings up another side of that conversation. And I feel like at least the frequency I was in when we started to exchange energy, and I was a grown-ass man, I was a very spiritually based man, of course, still am. I had to start to also recognize my powers and not use them for evil intent, right?
I remember that part.
And not so much with you, like when it did start to become romantic, everything was just so organic. But getting to you, I had to steer the ship in a way where, not that I didn't trust myself in certain positions, but I understood the power that I now exuded beyond aesthetic, Fibonacci sequence, or handsomeness. I understood the God force in me was now vibrating in a way where it was undeniable and in certain ways irresistible, even if women didn't feel like it was a romantic, sexual, I gotta have this man. They was just so drawn to me.
Yeah.
That there was certain things I just couldn't do no more. I remember I had a conversation with one of my female friends, and we was just talking. And I feel like it's a couple things, right? You mentioned innocence. You mentioned attention. You didn't use those words. I'm just paraphrasing. And then intention. Attention, intention, and innocence in a man who's really doing the work, that's a vibration most women never pick up on with any man.
Yeah.
So I'm having this regular conversation with my homegirl. We at Blueberry Cafe or something like that in Newark, New Jersey, and she just talking to me about her life. And I'm very intentional when I listen to people.
Yeah.
We also both do our best to not make word salads, right? We try to get in and get out, right?
Yeah.
So she's having this conversation. I'm saying little things here and there, dropping gems when I can, and they like really impacting her spirit when I'm dropping them. Every time I say something after she talk 5-10 minutes at a time, she just like, right? And she's absorbing it. And at a certain point, she's talking, and I'm just like directly right here, complete eye contact, nothing else in the world matters. I had no romantic feelings for this woman. And she stopped in the middle of what she was saying. She like, Docs, you can't look at me like that. Docs, you can't go around looking at women like that, especially in the frequency you're in right now. So a large part of this attraction piece for the men out here that are doing the work, and it's a lot of us that are leveling up, very quickly, as you start to dive into the spiritual stuff, that aura is going to go up a notch. That glow going to go up a notch. On your way to your Candyss, you got to be able to drive for the people on the road that can't drive. And you're going to come across a lot of women who never got a whiff of that.
Yeah.
Who are also in periods of desperation, who haven't had a real connection in decades. And then here you come along, you got your veneers in, you got the you got the smell good, smelling good, you've been doing your meditation, you fasting, you glowing. We got to be able to understand which pieces of ourselves that we kind of got to keep in until Spirit says, this is the one you can have that with. So by the time I got to you, there was also a groundswell of all these things that I was consciously in a calculated way saying, I can't do that with this one.
Yeah.
I can't look at her like that. I can't give this added extra aspect of my tone. I can't talk to you when I got the Barry White voice.
Right,
It was certain things I had to do to streamline my way based on the power of what I know attractiveness can do.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be mentioned that you continue to do that in our, it wasn't even a courting phase, but when we first started getting to know each other. So there was a time where you were really conscious of how women were attracted to you and your energy. and you wouldn't even allow women to give you massages.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that
Yeah.
you said was, I want to save all of my energy for you.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point to where your back was done up.
Done up.
And I was like, okay, I know you don't want to get a massage because you don't want to, share that energy with another woman. You just want to share it with me. But it got to a point to where I was like, I have a friend. We both can trust her. And let me call her so she can give you a massage. And y'all ended up being
Best friends.
great friends.
Shout out to Sarah, a big fine woman on Instagram. Make sure y'all hit her up. If y'all in New York, she still do body work.
And to the point, even Sarah's like,
You about to say it? Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Sarah is a beautiful energy, but even Sarah's like, girl, like he walk like it's big. And I recognize that it kind of just is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you have that energy, and I think it's great that you are mindful of it. So you know what women have the tendency to possibly pick up on when they're talking to you. But it's not really anything that you can hide from. But you have the intentionality to be able to be in a relationship with me, and we're 2 years long distance. Miles and miles away. I'm in Houston, you in New Jersey, and still having the wherewithal to say, I only want to give my energy to you. So I'll walk around and allow my back to be hurting to the point I can barely walk, because I'm not willing to share my energy with a woman and it be misconstrued and taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
I had to find a massage therapist for you to feel comfortable with having a massage.
And mind you, Sarah is a beautiful woman herself. Dope, magnetic
Very
energy
beautiful.
as well.
A singer.
A singer, one of my best female friends to this day. Tremendous love for her, and damn near family love at this point. You know what I'm saying? And she would say it after the fact too. Like, we had been rocking for about 1.5 years of her consistently coming from New York, holding me down. And we started to barter. I started to counsel her, right? So that's kind of how our relationship also developed. And I remember one time, I think I had moved already. I think I was already in Houston. And she was like, Docs, I don't know if I've ever felt as safe around a man in the massage sector. Not saying that I feel like every man is going to try something. But she was like, I've never seen a man, especially a man that I know has a woman, go to the lengths of, when I will flip you over, you covering your mans, you covering your private parts. You know what I'm saying? You didn't even want me to see the bulge peeking, you know what I'm saying? Just out of respect for me and also respect for your union. When you are 1,300 miles from this woman and you got the autonomy to really do whatever you want if we wanted to take it there.
Yeah.
She was like, not only did that give me respect for your relationship, that healed something in me that also allowed my own attraction and how I approach it to start to morph into something different. It started to take on a purity just from you making that gesture. And it's not something she ever said.
Right.
Until after the fact, and she was able to, just give me gratitude for taking that approach and kind of covering both y'all hearts in completely different ways by just having that respect to, let me just cover up. You know what I'm saying? So that, you got anything else on that?
Nah.
And that kind of leads me to the next, we kind of covering this too. Do you have anything else in reference to how to stop being attracted from how to stop attractiveness from turning into desire? And that's difficult probably for us to answer because it's organic. We don't really have to try to stop it. But if you had to put yourself in somebody's shoes that may still be kind of navigating this and not know the parameters they need to put in place, what would be your advice for them?
Yeah, man, that's kind of a difficult question. But I think when attraction goes into desire, like you said, you've already started to romanticize what could be. And I think before you get to a point to where you're about to romanticize, acknowledge that initial inception of the thought
There you
of the
go.
attraction that has come into the mind, the body, and the spirit,
go.
and then really sit with what that is trying to communicate to you. If there is a void that is present, if there's something that you need, if there's something that you need someone else to give to you, or something that you need your partner to give to you, really being able to get clear on what that is. Because if you know what it is, you can get it from your partner. If it may be something that's like, you just need to be seen, you just need to be acknowledged, well, that may look like dressing up really good and going out with your partner and allowing people to see how beautiful you are as you walk into a room. It may not be that you need a man to see you and want you and to entertain a man outside of your relationship, or a woman outside of your relationship. But if you scrutinize that initial inceptuous thought
Come on now.
and figure out what it is that you actually need,
Yeah.
and where that romanticizing could possibly go, I think that'll really help.
And of course, you're in my wheelhouse. You talking my language. We talking mindfulness in the field of
Yeah.
attraction, right?
Right.
And I haven't introduced this on the podcast. I'm also going to get back to my meditations. I'm going to start that probably
Yeah.
tomorrow. Ran into a bunch of people at God Body Weekend, and since then, people that have just let me know. And I got all different sectors and demographics and races watching my meditations, but specifically to the brown and black community, it's not a lot of us that show up on YouTube. When you're trying to learn how to meditate and you type that thing in, you don't see people that look like you. So I know
Yeah.
I hold a responsibility in that I'm going to honor more. I apologize for taking so long. But I'm going to do a whole meditation on this, but this is free game, especially for my brothers,
Come on, free game.
based on what you just said. And I was in meditation when this kind of came to me, and I came out of it. I'm like, yo, I got to do a video on the social media meditation, which is extremely simple. You talked about the incestuous seed thought, right? When the thought first rises into your mind of, okay, attractive woman, and then the next thought, damn, I wonder what this would be like, right? And then the romanticization starts to come online. Before you know it, you are feeding the feeling that ultimately turns into, baby, we got to talk.
Yeah.
If you even have enough integrity to do that, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a committed relationship, if you tired of cheating, if you tired of juggling women, you just want to start to get some discipline about you, when you have that moment of, wow, she's attractive, and that next thought tries to come up, the next thought projects, it presents itself to you, and it's probably going to present itself to you. All you got to do is take the approach of how social media filters things in and out of your algorithm. Every night, and I talked to you about this the other day, every now and then you'll see a reel pop up or a video on your YouTube every now and then that has two options at the bottom. Interested, not interested. Interested got the green check, not interested got the red X. If you hit not interested, now Instagram understands they don't want to see this type of content. We're going to eventually start to filter this out of your algorithm. It really comes down to the same thing with your mind field. You don't got to be a master meditator. Meditation is going to help give you more wherewithal to catch attracted before it develops into, damn, I wonder what I could do with that. You know what I'm saying? You still got to have the distance to be able to recognize that as it comes, because it comes super quick, right? No shade to some of y'all that do. But I don't know what's wrong with me today. This is what happens when we record at night. This is our first time doing a night thing. We under the moon. I'm wilding right now, right? But when you are able to have that distance and you recognize the seed thought come up, there's nothing wrong with the seed thought of attraction. To be able to recognize the next one that may be inappropriate for you to even be thinking about in a committed relationship, you hit not interested. And it's going to come back. And I've talked about this before with the power of a beautiful woman. You may pass a woman and you don't say nothing to her, but the energy, the memory, and the visual of that woman can run through a man's head for the rest of that day, for days at a time. I don't feel like it's ultimately like that as much as it is for us. So every beautiful woman we walk past is work involved. If you're ready to kill this demon within yourself. So this is one of the things you got to start to practice. Doing the meditations first, stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. But when you are in that moment, literally just telling your mind, not interested, and you'll see how simple it is for your mind to say, okay, and it's going to send you something else. And if it wraps back around again, you hit not interested. Not interested as much as you need to until the mind now has its attention directed to something else. This is something that can help all of us.
I think that's such a beautiful practice, and I've started doing that.
Yeah.
think I heard you explaining that to somebody before, and now when any thought comes up that I do not want to have, I say out loud, I'm not interested.
Yep.
And I think saying it out loud, saying it internally, and really being clear, firm, allows me to instantly reclaim my power, demand my spirit back from the thought, and move on. And so it's like it really does swipe. The mind really starts to listen because you started to command it. I think that was such a helpful thing for me.
And the more you do it over time, just like on Instagram when they shift your algorithm, your mind will get to the point where you send that message enough times, your mind won't even be as allured when attraction comes up. You won't even have to hit not interested as much as you kind of make this your default setting as far as your approach to beauty. If you're in a committed relationship that you agree to be committed in, it'll get to the point it's nothing for you now. And this is part of why we can on both sides be around all these dope, attractive people on so many levels, and it's not even a thing for us.
Yeah, it'll start to feel like background noise.
Background noise.
People can use this with anything. Any thought
Absolutely.
that comes up in your mind that you start to ruminate on or romanticize or allow to bring you into sadness or grief or low vibrational emotions, you can just swipe. Tell yourself that you're not interested in and really feel that. And then like even on Instagram, initially I would go into the Instagram setting and say not interested. And then I recognized that just touching the button kind of makes me feel like I was interested enough to even give my attention to it. So I started doing what you said, and I wouldn't even pay attention to it. I would just ignore that it was there and just say not interested. So that's helped me in many ways. I think that's so beautiful.
And I got that meditation and many others coming for y'all. You also said something before I went into that as far as in a committed relationship and sometimes needing to spice things up or go out just to see other people attracted to your mate, whatever it is. It brings up something that I got on the chart too. You ever heard of the coolage effect? Okay. And this is why our audience is so dope, because I didn't either. It was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, but a few people started to talk about the coolage effect.
In the comments?
In the comments. This is what community is for. We're not just here to guide and teach y'all. We need that guidance right back. So me being the nerd that I am, all right, what's this coolage effect thing? I kind of got some of the context, but I needed to dig it up. And I'll just hit us with the definition and we'll break this down a little bit. So the coolage effect is a biological phenomenon that describes when an animal's sexual interest is renewed when presented with a new sexual partner. It's been observed in many mammalian species, including humans, right? How does it work? When a male has sex with a female, his sexual interest in her tends to decline. When a new female is introduced, the male's sexual interest is now renewed in his original mate. The effect is related to sexual satiety. It involves neurobiologic changes in steroid receptors and their mRNA expression, DNA shit, in the CNS. Dopamine levels rise when there is a chance of starting a new sexual relationship. Why does that happen? The coolage effect may help distribute sperm more evenly. It may also make evolutionary sense in animals that want to preserve their genetic diversity and number of offspring for future generations.
Okay, so is this why it's so fun when I dress up?
We about to go there.
Okay.
Before we go there, what's your, hearing that for the first time, what's your initial visceral response to that?
I don't know that I had a visceral response. It sounded like it made sense because we've seen this play out in society, and because of how fun it is when I dress up. That's kind of the only thing that surfaced
All right,
within
so
me.
dive into the dress up aspect.
Right.
In
So
correlation to the coolage.
okay, so it sounds like men look forward to something different. And it is not an indication that love isn't present. Something within the DNA is changing that's making them desire, have a dopamine effect when something different is presented.
A genetic need for it.
a genetic need. That's big.
Yeah.
That's actually huge
Yeah.
because now we're not just talking, oh, you are attracted to all these other people. Now it's like, well, the genetic disposition within a person is actually searching for that. So to a large degree, when we're like, only like me, only like how I look,
Right.
you are robbing that person of what their genetic disposition actually needs.
Right.
And so I would think that to counteract that, it would be a need to spice things up
Right.
and give those different versions of yourself to your partner. So for instance, with us, and I'm still getting back into the space of feeling sexual.
Yeah.
But
We done went through a lot of different shifts the past couple months. Yeah.
right. But when we are in that space, I got different names. I got different outfits. The only thing
One
that
of them
I
ain't got no name. Last
one of them
even
ain't
had
got no name, and she seemed like she the funnest one. But the only thing that I haven't done yet is brought out different types of hair,
Yeah.
which we didn't discuss
Yeah,
the
no
other
doubt.
day.
No
So
doubt.
I get to add that to my repertoire of outfits.
Right.
But now this kind of brings a deeper level of understanding on how I can ignite you even more, just past the different outfits, but really giving myself permission in those sexual moments to morph into a different person, and really seeing that as play, but something that your genetic disposition may actually be looking for
Right.
and yearning for. And so instead of me getting upset if you are attracted to another
Right.
woman, I can actually
How
give
do I bring
you
that to the table? Yeah.
all the different types of women. Like,
Right.
what type of woman you want today?
Yeah,
You
no
know what I'm
doubt,
saying?
no
What color
doubt.
hair you want today? I think that makes things really fun.
And you probably can't see it because I write small, but at the bottom, the word that kept coming up, I didn't want to read the whole thing, but the word novelty
Okay.
kept coming up. Novelty, new, a novelty act, something that
Okay.
nobody else is doing, right? So that novelty piece, I think, is big. And in the article, they actually correlated a lot of this to what I want to bring up in reference to this, which is especially male sexual burnout, right? Before we go to that, in the article, they talked about the fact that being that most men are not going to have access to the amount of new and novelty that their genetic code is asking for, what are we going to turn to?
Right. Porn.
Porn, right? That's where it's on tap. You ain't got to court.
Dang.
You ain't got to have the game or the money. You can log on and have a new piece of novelty every single day. Some men I speak to multiple times a day. Some men I speak to, even in committed relationships, I'm going to speak for myself, actually. When I was in my 13-year relationship, I was so heavy on porn that I would have sex with my partner. And she would be asleep, and I'm going to still masturbate and go watch porn, right? Because that novelty button had been hit so much. And then you get to the point where the dopamine receptors burn out. And you don't even realize that now what you're doing is more so addiction as opposed to the actual balanced genetic need that we just discussed.
Damn,
right?
that's big.
Facts. So this also comes back to the sexual burnout for a lot of men. And I'm for those that don't know, I'm 43. I'll be 44 this year.
And he fine.
This year.
Fine,
Appreciate you,
fine
baby.
man.
And in this age group for men, 9 times out of 10, it's 2025. Men in their 20s is going to the gas station for the honey packs before they go to the girl's crib or whatever it may be. We got pills and blue doggies and Viagra and Rose Sparks now, right? It's a $1 billion+ industry of men being able to just come to play in this arena, right? Because of this sexual burnout thing. And by the time we get to a relationship that has the potential to become something, by the time we've grown as men enough to be prepared for that, we could be prepared in all these other ways, but you're in your 40s now. And you've had decades plus of what we talking about right now, tapping that novelty button a little bit too much. And by the time you may get to a Mrs. Right, you got everything checked off. You got the finances. You a better man now. You ready to be faithful. You can't sling that thing for nothing no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you can do it, it's so much of this energy built up in you that even in that space, she's not able to connect to the intimacy that she's looking for because you've never accommodated for that sexual burnout. I remember when I first moved down here, I think we may have spoken on this on a previous podcast, but I was very much so, even more so than now, because we still fast sexually. I was going extremely long periods of time doing nothing.
Yeah.
And we hadn't shared space consistently, so I didn't realize I was going to need to make a shift because I was cool with that. At a certain point, you pulled me to the side like, look, my nigga, I'm a young tenderoni out here in these streets. It's going to have to be more frequent than you giving it to me, right? And it's up. I'm prepared for it, but that was because of a year of sexual fast.
For sure, right.
Celibacy, no masturbation, and from that point, reconditioning my approach to sexual energy and being very bougie with how I dole out that energy. I don't even give it to myself. I conserve all of that for you. So a lot of men in this sector, they'll say, well, yeah, docs are saying it's a genetic need. A lot of men is going to play this for their women, but until we get to this point, y'all will say it's in my genetic code to need a bunch of this to be satiated. You need the novelty of the aesthetic more so than woman to woman and what she can provide for you sexually. And on top of that, when you factor in a sexual burnout, a lot of us have never recalibrated. You coming into these relationships as grown men who says, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to get married. And even if you still got it to give sexually in the first year or so of the relationship, we talking long term. We talking marriage. We talking rings on fingers. Very quickly, a lot of these men up in the space where he ain't coming to play no more.
Yeah.
And now confidence is disrupted. And now they go even more so to the porn because I'm scared of going to this arena with my wife now. All these things are coming to play. You got anything to that?
Yeah, I love that you made the distinction between actually having sex with somebody and the genetic disposition just needing the aesthetic, which means that it's kind of like you need nuance, you need newness, you need fun, you need things that are different as opposed to the monotonous of all the things that come with the sexual experience. I think men for sure needed to hear you say that.
And like we talked about the different hair, right? If you are a couple and y'all want to explore with some of this stuff, and this is where you get to explore the poly life in a, again, monogamous, committed relationship, right? To a certain degree, tongue in cheek. But if you're going to switch up the hair as the woman, switch up the scent, right? Switch up the voice, switch up the name, switch all of it up, and don't feel like, well, I got to become a different person. Nah, it's just his genetic need that you accommodating for, and he's going to appreciate that. It even goes down to things as simple as, because we be naked in the house a lot, it be moments where as much as I want to see your body and I love your body, I like when you cover it sometimes just to have the idea of being able to unwrap you. You know what I'm saying? These are things a lot of times men don't even know within themselves how to communicate, and they just think it's easier for me to just try to go fuck on something else. As opposed to trying to figure out how I can get this from my own partnership.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And wrapping up, I think I got a couple more joints. Let's end it here because this sentiment came up a lot. We got about 9 minutes, right?
Yep.
This sentiment came up a lot from a lot of women because when I put up the first version of the video, where I was kind of asking how you felt if I had feelings for another woman.
Yeah.
And it's going super viral. It was probably 50 comments I saw. Well, what if the shoe was on the other foot?
Yeah.
Ain't no fun when the whatever got the
when
gun.
the rabbit
got the gun, right? I'm like, hold tight, because that's going to be the next video. And I put that up the next day. And the sentiment was a lot of women have a desire, damn near a need, to want to be able to explore different energies, and they may be in committed relationships. But they don't think the man will ever be open to that conversation. They think they're going to get bust upside their head if they even bring it up.
Yeah.
So question being based off that, do you think women want multiple men, excuse me. Do you think women want multiple men more than they admit?
Oh, I can't speak for, I don't.
This is your guesstimation.
My guesstimation.
What you know about women, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that it's sexually.
Okay.
But I do think that women do desire to at least just experience other men. Mm-hmm. And that could look many different ways. It could look sexually. Mm-hmm. It could look like what a day in the life would be like. It could look like romanticizing what a life would be like with a family and kids. It could be a man who has certain things that they would like to experience. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there may be some, fantasizing in that way of wanting to experience different men. I don't know that it's purely sexually, but yes, it's some that do. I think it just goes. It depends on the person.
And just like we've been advocating for, especially in the first episode, that's just the transparency, the willingness to open up about it. A lot of times women are waiting for the man to do it. They waiting for the man to have that conversation because 9 times out of 10, society says he gonna want something extracurricular before I do, right? And the woman will kind of just play the back burner, knowing in her heart of hearts, I want to be able to explore different things, maybe not even sexually, right? But if you hold that in as a woman as well, that's what leads to women feeling stifled in the sexual arena, in the relationship arena. So the same thing goes for women as well as for men. If it's on your heart, let that man know, let the chips fall where they may.
All right, y'all. Thank you for being here for another episode. You can purchase my book, Remember Who the F You Are. The links are in the bio. You can book a one-on-one session with me. What you got, babe?
Stream the music. Everything is love. It should be in the caption in here for my latest single, album on the way. Daddy Issues out, airplane mode out. I'm also accepting new one-on-one clients, relationship couples as well. Hit me up. I'll send y'all the information. And also, I know we said it last episode, been a lot of things going on, but we are going to get this flyer up and put this feeler out for a retreat at the end of the summer, somewhere probably in the Texas area. So look forward to that. Some of y'all already been DMing me about your interests. Continue to do that. We will get that information out to y'all ASAP. And just thank y'all for continuing to rock with us. Like, comment, subscribe, share, post, do reactions to these. Let's just continue to build this community in this organic way. And we love y'all for paying attention to us.
All right.
Peace, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
My nigga, everything is love, but that on anything I love. Yeah.
Peace, beloved.